On today's Join Us in France, Kim Henry tells us about 6 different day trips she's taken while staying in Paris and shares with us how we can see more of the places we've been dreaming of without packing our suitcase. This is Join Us in France, episode 106. And Join Us in France is a show about all things French. And lately, I've had the pleasure to welcome a few listeners to join me to talk about their trip to France and share their thoughts and suggestions. And you're welcome to do that too. If you think you'd like to, just send me an email. Kim Henry from Australia is one such person who will tell us how she took some wonderful day trips while remaining based in Paris. This interview is full of great tips on how you can do the same. Unfortunately, the audio wasn't great, and I had to, once again, mute myself out whenever I wasn't speaking. It makes it feel a little strange, but it's better than letting you hear the noisy environment I was recording in. I've since bought and installed a piece of audio equipment that will put that problem behind me and save me a ton of time in editing and make it sound better too. And your donations have made that possible. Thank you. To support the show, you can use our Amazon and hotel booking links, and you can find those either on the website, joinusinfrance.com, or on the show notes on your phone. Right now, you can tap on your phone and see them. I've seen a nice increase in Amazon commissions recently. I think having the link on the phone is helping you remember. Stay tuned at the end of the show to hear audio feedback I received from Randy talking about driving in France, in Normandy, and having the ability to visit rural France with a rental car. I love to get feedback from you, and to make it easier, there's also a link on the show notes on your phone to do that too. All right, let's get on with the interview with Kim Henry. I'm a little frustrated at myself that the audio wasn't as good as I'd like and that the recording cut some things off, but live and learn. And she made up for it by bringing great suggestions and personal experience to the show. Here we go.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's very nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for accepting to do this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm really excited to do this.
So you're in Australia, huh?
Yes, I'm in Melbourne.
Wow. It's a long way to France. How often have you come to France?
3 times now.
Wow.
It's a 24-hour trip.
Oh, you are brave. Well, no wonder then.
Just so beautiful. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was saying no wonder then you get adventurous once you're here. If you travel...
yes, it's pretty non-stop. I like to pack as much in as I can.
Right. Oh, that's great. All right. Well, you have made quite a few day trips from Paris, and I think that's what we need to concentrate on today because lots of people are a bit intimidated by that. And let's see how it went for you.
Okay.
So why don't we start with Nancy? Were you by yourself that time, or were you with somebody else?
Yes, I was. So I went last August, and that whole trip was on my own. Previously, the 2 trips before that, I was with my husband, but I was completely on my own last time. So yes, I went out to Nancy on my own.
Very nice. And how did you pull it off, and how did it go?
Okay, so When I'm going to travel by train, I actually book tickets here before I go. And
okay, and what website do you use to do that?
I use the SNCF website.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I recommend too. I mean, they have it's not always the easiest site to figure out, but once you understand how it works, it's pretty good.
Oh, I have very little trouble with it. And because I sort of book in advance, I can get fairly good rates.
Right.
So to get to Nancy, I left Gare de l'Est in Paris and I caught the TGV it took probably an hour and 40 minutes, I think.
Right.
So I left Paris at just after 8 a.m. and I was in Nancy before 10 a.m.
Right. Oh, so that's funny because I was just checking the schedule this morning for the Nancy, because, the trains run pretty much at the same time every day. Not always. They add trains, they remove trains on occasion, but typically it's pretty set. And so I was looking at the Paris, so Gare de l'Est to Nancy, it leaves at 10 minutes past 8 in the morning, and you get to Nancy by 8:47.
That's right. So 9:47.
Oh, 9:47. Maybe I miswrote. That's possible. Yeah, because it's an hour and it's an hour 40. So it would be 9:47. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one you took, and it's a TGV. Does it go super fast at times?
Yes, it does, and there was only one stop along the way, so it's completely direct. And I think it was about a 300-kilometre-an-hour train. So, but
cool.
you can still see out the window and look at the scenery, which is part of getting to these places. I still get to see other things along the way.
Right. And you can choose your seat on the TGV.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And Nancy wasn't a hugely popular destination, so there was plenty of room on the train. It wasn't a crowded train.
That's great. Okay, and once you got to Nancy, what did you do?
So my main object of going to Nancy was to go to the Musée de l'École de Nancy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, École de Nancy, so the Art Nouveau.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was a little way from the station. So you could walk, but I decided that I would catch a taxi. So the taxi ramp was outside the station.
Mm-hmm.
So it was only 5 minutes in the taxi. Probably cost me less than €10.
Uh-huh.
And
we didn't talk about
museum.
Sorry, we didn't talk about the cost of the train. We'll come back to the museum for a second. Do you remember more or less the cost of the train?
I think probably around €20.
Oh, so you got a really cheap ticket.
Yes, I did, yeah.
When I checked it this morning, I could find fares anywhere between 40 and €80, depending on if it's a refundable ticket, if you get first class, etc. But, I mean, if you book well ahead in advance, you can find fabulous train fares, but you need to do it in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I tell a lie. It was actually, I'm just looking now, it's €66.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But it must have felt like a good deal because you remembered it at 20.
Well, it was, but there was no flexibility with that fare, though, that I got.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to cancel, I would have lost my money.
Right. Yeah. It just depends on how much you pay, and sometimes you can get refunds or not or whatever. So
that's right. But I was pretty sure I was going, so I thought, why not take the cheaper fare?
Sure. It sounds sensible. Okay, sorry about that. Let's get back to the museum in Nancy, l'École de Nancy.
Okay, so I caught the taxi there, and you just go in, and I can't remember how much it cost to go through the museum. Maybe €6. It wasn't very expensive.
Yeah.
And it's a home. It was the home of Jean-Baptiste Corbin, and he was a collector, and it just contains a lot of work from the local Nancy artists. So there's a lot of Art Nouveau furniture. There's a collection of the glass by Gallet. And just some beautiful features in the home. Like there's a beautiful staircase with a stained glass ceiling. All the woodwork is that beautiful Art Nouveau.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was apparently put together to give you that feel of the Art Nouveau period, which it really does. It's a great collection. I'd never seen anything like that before. So
I bet it wasn't very crowded as a museum.
No, No, it's not. There was quite a few people there, but not by no means was it crowded.
Right.
And there's a garden there as well, so you can have a wander around in the garden after you've been through the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably spent a good hour there at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when I finished, I asked the lady at the front to ring me a taxi because from there I wanted to go to Place Stanislas.
Yes.
I caught the taxi back to Place Stanislas.
Very good.
And by then it was a beautiful day, so all the light, the sun was shining off all that beautiful pale stone in Place Stanislas and the beautiful gold on the gates.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place, isn't it?
Oh, it was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like when you visit a lot of these places, they're always restoring things. So there was a lot of scaffolding up at the time, but you still got the feel for it.
Yeah. See, what happens to me a lot is that I show up and there's some sort of special event for that day, and the plaza is going to be chock full of, I don't know, tents with some special event, and I'm like, oh no, not again. You know, but that's the way it is in France. They, you know, those cities have big plazas in the center, and the big plazas are used almost every day for something different. I don't know about Nancy, but in Toulouse, it's amazing. You know, you can go any day of the week, and there's some event going on, and
well, there was nothing special this day. They're just people having lunch because there's a lot of restaurants and cafes there, and just people wandering around. So,
but scaffolding in your case.
Yes, unfortunately, but it wouldn't be a trip to Europe without something being underneath scaffold.
Exactly. You can count on seeing some scaffolding while you're over here, for sure.
That's right. Right.
Very good.
So, yes, I had a bite to eat there, and then I wandered around the local little streets there where I just never get sick of looking at these beautiful old buildings, quaint little shops, and, of course, there's a couple of bigger there's some gates there. And there's another museum, Museum Lorraine, which is in the Palace of the Dukes. Okay. I didn't actually go there. I think when I was there, it was actually lunchtime, so it was closed.
Ah, yes.
That's a very beautiful looking building. There's a cathedral, of course, there.
Yeah. And
then I wandered through. There's a lovely park called Pépinière.
Okay.
And I was specifically looking for a kiosk, which apparently was built a couple of 100 years ago to cater for bands to play in the park.
Right.
And it's just a lovely well, it's not Art Nouveau, I suppose. Just this gorgeous little kiosk in the middle of the park. Maybe I'll give you a photo of that, and you can put that up.
I would love that.
Yeah. So it was just a lovely park, which is not far from the centre of town at all. And then I walked back to Place Stanislas and went to the Fine Arts Museum. There was an exhibition on when I was there, and it was self-portraits. So Monet self-portrait was there, Cézanne.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love exhibits like that on a theme. I think that is so good to see how several artists have wanted to depict a specific theme. I think that's really nice.
Yes, well, it was fabulous. It was a bit of a stroke of luck, I guess, that it was on when I was there. Actually, there's some other beautiful paintings in that museum, as well as a very large collection of glass by Dome and Gallet.
Yes.
So it takes up sort of like the lower floor. So that was very impressive.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's a lovely building as well.
Very nice. So by now we're middle of the afternoon, probably.
That's right. So I just wandered around a few more streets, sort of where the main shopping area was, and I had a look at there's some really good examples of Art Nouveau architecture there.
Right.
Found the local market, which was just finishing up, and then went into a very nice restaurant which is opposite the station called Brasserie Excelsior.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful Art Nouveau inside.
Oh, very nice. Hello? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Bad luck today.
Oh.
It's because Australia is so far.
Is that what it is?
Just kidding. Sorry about that. So, Brasserie Excelsior.
That's right. I was sitting there waiting for the train just around 4:00 to get back to Paris, and I got back to Paris just before 6 p.m.
Perfect.
So it was all very easy.
And you never felt rushed. You felt like you got to see everything you wanted to see in Nancy.
I did. The only thing I didn't get to see, but that wasn't because I ran out of time, was another house called Villa Majorelle. But unfortunately, that was only open on weekends. And I just had a look today, and it says that it's actually under renovation this year.
Okay.
But you can still visit. You can visit inside. They've just got the scaffolding up on the outside. But that's more in the Art Nouveau architectural style.
Right.
But I don't think it has the collection of furnishings and artworks as Col de Nancy has. So that was... But otherwise, I really did get to see everything that I set out to see. So
very nice.
It was a good day trip.
Very nice. Sounds like a fun day trip from Paris. And typically when you come to Paris, how long do you stay?
It's been increasing in length of time each time. So last year it was 8 days, which was a really good mix. I did a few day trips and was able to spend a lot of time wandering in Paris as well. Mm-hmm. So, so Nancy took up 1 day. Mm-hmm. As I said, the next day I went to Chateau Malmaison.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, that was lovely. That's more a half-day trip, but...
So how did that work? I have never been to Chateau Malmaison, at least not that I can remember.
It's lovely. It's not as big as most of the other chateaux, and it's not as fancily decorated, but it's still very nice, and it has some very unique features. So I caught the metro up to La Défense, where you need to change to a bus. But while I was there, I actually went up and had a look at the Grand Arch.
Oh, yes.
I thought, well, I'm never going to come up here just especially to see that.
Yes.
So the view from there back down to the Arc de Triomphe was spectacular.
Yeah, it's very nice, yeah.
Yes, so...
But it's true that if you're not going for the view, there's probably nothing much there.
No, it's a fairly big, square, ugly thing.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I just went up and had a look at that, and then I went back down. So when you come off the trains, the bus station is underneath. So you just walk through the station, and it's all very well signed. You just follow the signs to the buses, and all the buses are fairly well numbered. Mm-hmm. And at each stop, there's the bus going in. There's an entrance for the bus in each direction. So it's very much like catching the metro. You just have to work out which direction you're going. Yeah. And as I said, I knew the bus number, and I think I even asked somebody when I was there if I was on the right spot. Right. And as you pointed out before, the French are very helpful to make sure that I was going where I wanted to go. Oh, yeah. If you ask for help, for sure, they will, Yeah, like the girl I asked didn't know the answer. So she asked the next person, and... Right. Yeah, all very nice. And
yeah. So now is a good time, I guess, to ask you if you speak some French.
Very little.
Okay.
trying to learn, but I just haven't got the time to really sit down. But I've progressed since the time before.
Right.
So
no, but this is good. This is reassuring because you don't speak a lot of French, yet you can do all these things.
I can. And look, to be fair, you don't need a lot of French in Paris and most of France. Most people do speak English.
Yeah.
But I just felt wherever there was a situation that somebody may not speak French, I sort of made sure that I had the phrases that I would need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
do you remember,
I'm trying.
So do you remember which bus you took to Chateau Malmaison? Was it?
Yes, it was the 258.
Okay.
And you get off at the stop called Le Chateau.
Okay.
Which is right next to the street the chateau is in. So it's just, I think you have to cross the road and then just walk straight down this street, and it's probably a 10-minute walk to the chateau gate.
Wow. So this is probably a regional bus that you took?
No? I'm pretty sure it was just one of the...
it's a city bus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Very good.
So, yes. So, of course, I always buy the T tickets to get around Paris.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that covered the bus as well, because we were still within, a certain zone.
Right. Well, and anymore they have changed the tickets so that now your weekly pass covers anything you could do in Paris. Any zones, they've removed all the zones and all of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought a pack of 10 of the T tickets.
Yeah.
And that got me by.
Yeah.
So they're very handy.
Yes, exactly. They work very well.
Yes. So you come to the gates at the chateau, or you just go in and pay, and then you walk, down the driveway to the chateau. And it's got an unusual entrance to the front of the chateau. It's got this like glass conservatory where you enter through, and it's got all these marble columns when you walk in. It's a bit different to most of the chateaux that I've seen.
Yeah.
And
it does
lovely.
look pretty plain.
It's plain, but I wouldn't complain at having to live there. Very nice country home.
Yes.
So probably spent a couple of hours there. It's got 2 levels. It was Josephine's house.
Yes.
But Napoleon apparently used to spend some time there. He had a meeting room and a library there. Uh-huh. Which the library's beautiful, beautiful books in there, that look like they're very well kept. Right.
Oh, and they have a billiards room in there.
Yes, they have that too. There's a lovely dining room. Mm-hmm. And then upstairs, you've got the bedrooms, of course, and Josephine's bedroom is really something special. It's all lined with fabric, even the roof, and it's all in red. Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very unusual.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sleep there. Mm-mm.
No. And then there's another room with, lots of artworks and crockery, beautiful gold crockery. Mm. And there's a beautiful painting of Napoleon on horseback, which is full height of the walls just about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very homely.
Yeah, and it looks like it's very well, preserved. There's a lot of furnishings inside and a lot of things from the period, which is not always the case in French chateaux. So that's good.
Right. It's hard to know what's really old and what's 10 years old.
Well, and they do replace things, and they do, if a chair would look very nice in that corner over there, they might buy one from some other chateau or something, Yeah. Which is fair. That looks like a really nice place.
It was. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't sort of know what to expect from Malmaison. but it was lovely. The gardens, they're very serene and peaceful and pleasant, but it's no Versailles.
Right.
But,
yes.
It really was. And look, once again, I had another lovely sunny day, and that makes all the difference to the mood of somewhere.
Yeah.
So it was just a very pleasant place to be.
Right. And if you're the type of person who just likes to go explore and wander around and discover, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yes, I do. And so when I finished at the chateau, I wanted to see the church where Josephine is entombed.
Yes.
So that's just a short walk into Rue Malmaison.
Yes.
So very easy to get to, down one or two streets between the chateau and the village, and a very pleasant walk. Just down through some lovely houses, and then you come into the town, and you come into a square, I guess, and the church is there, and absolutely nobody in the church. So Josephine and her daughter Hortense are buried there. So
very nice.
Yeah, and so I just ended up having lunch at this lovely restaurant, which was actually quite busy. I'm not sure whether it was full of locals or a mix of locals and some tourists.
Yeah.
I had a lovely French lunch there.
Very good.
Yes. And then it's just a short walk back to the main road where the bus goes along. So I actually picked up at a different bus stop on my way back because I'd walked part of the way. So very easy to get back into Paris.
Very nice. Yeah, you're not far from Paris at Malmaison. You might actually be technically still. No, it's not technically Paris, but it's very close. It's attached.
Yes.
Very good.
So I was back in Paris mid-afternoon.
Very good. So on to your next adventure. Which one do you want to talk about now? Because you have so many.
We'll talk about Giverny to Monet's garden.
Oh yes, love that.
Such a lovely place. So beautiful. This one I actually went on an organised bus tour.
Oh, okay.
You can go out there on your own. You need to catch the train from Saint-Lazare to Vernon, and then you're about 6 miles or 6 k's from the gardens.
Right.
Apparently the buses don't run that regularly. You can catch a taxi.
Right.
So in the end, I decided I'd go with an organised tour, which left Paris about 1 p.m. And most of the organised bus tours in Paris leave from Rue de Rivoli.
Okay, yes.
There's a big tourist office there. So
yes.
That's where any of the bus trips I've ever done have left from there.
And that's very handy.
It is. It was very easy. So it probably took maybe an hour by bus. To get there, and then you dropped off and walk across to the gardens, which the first sight of these gardens is just breathtaking. They're just exquisite.
Yeah.
And being when I went there, that was the trip before, so I was there in the July, so the garden was full of flowers. And
that's
it's
nice.
Just
That's
kept.
nice.
So and
I have not been to that one, and I'm just kicking myself that I haven't seen it yet. I have seen so many photos. It's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
And the house is open too. The house is lovely, but unfortunately you're not allowed to take photos in the house. So they do have people in nearly every room.
Yeah.
So there's no chance of sneaking one. But it's probably been renovated, but the kitchen was this bright yellow, and then upstairs you've got the bedrooms, and the views out of the windows are amazing.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous. It's like a frame of a painting or something.
Yeah. I think so. Do you think this particular house, I mean, people go mostly for the gardens, right?
Yeah, of course. But the house is well worth seeing. I mean, I'm just interested to see how people of a different time lived, and his studio is there. Or they've got a room that's got some of his studio. I think his proper studio is actually a proper artist studio now where they run classes. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't go in there. Mm-hmm. But
so let me ask you a question about this bus that you caught on Rue de Rivoli. Was it something that you had to arrange ahead of time, or you just showed up and bought a ticket and left that day?
Oh, look, I would have arranged it ahead of time. I don't like to leave things to chance, but they do have an office there, so you could walk in as long as there's room left on that particular tour.
Right. And is this a tour where there's a tour guide that will explain some things along the way, or is it just... we're going to...
Yes, I think we did have a tour guide. However, we were pretty much left to our own devices at the house and that. Yeah. So, yes, and of course the lily pond, the water garden is actually separate to the house and gardens. It's actually across the road. Okay. And that really, once again, just leaves you breathless. It's just... the most serene place, even though it's full of tourists. It's just got a very serene feeling. Yeah. And it's, you can just see why he created such beautiful paintings. It's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and a painting of that is at l'Orangerie in Paris.
Yes. In the big oval room.
Yes. But I would much rather see the actual pond, I think.
You have to go.
I'm this summer I'm planning on going to visit a few of these beautiful things. See them for myself.
We were very lucky in Melbourne. Just before I left for that trip, we'd actually had a Monet exhibition. They brought out a lot of his works, and they had this short feature film which showed all the gardens and the house. So it really made me want to go and see it more. Yeah.
And that house and gardens is probably very well attended. I mean, there's probably a lot of people there, right?
I think so, because there were so many tourists. I'm sure they're making enough money to keep it in good condition.
Yeah. That's a place that attracts a lot of people.
Yes, and it sits right in this little village, and there are a couple of little shops, and I think there's even a restaurant there, and there may have actually been a little. I know there's a shop within the grounds. I just can't remember. I think there may, if you wanted a drink, you could probably get a cold drink or something. But there is a restaurant just outside of the grounds in the village.
Very nice. Did you try it? No,
because we left Paris at 1:00 in the afternoon. Oh yeah. It was sort of just an afternoon trip.
That's very nice. So you saw the whole thing in the afternoon.
Oh yes, we had enough time. We weren't rushed at all. Great. I think that maybe they do another bus tour that where you do Versailles in the morning and then Monet's gardens in the afternoon. But I just did the garden part.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, let's move along to another one of your day trips. Maybe you could tell us about Saint-Malo and Mont-Saint-Michel?
Yes, that was a great day, but
that was a
very
daring.
Long day. Sorry?
Yeah, that was a bit daring. It's a long day, I bet, yes.
It was a very long day. I left Paris, Gare de l'Est at 7:30 and caught the TGV to Saint-Malo. And in Saint-Malo, I was at the station. I was picked up by a tour guide.
Ah, okay.
So there was a minivan, so there was about 8 of us. And she drove us to the walled town of Saint-Malo. Yes. She talked the whole way there. She left us to explore the town ourselves and gave us all the information that we would need to find our way around. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't that good that day. So it was a bit drizzly and a lot cooler.
What do you expect it is Saint-Malo?
Well, I didn't know. It was summer in France.
Yeah, well, it's still Saint-Malo.
Yeah. He did say don't come to Brittany in August, apparently.
Yeah, well, no, if you want to see Brittany, just go, but don't expect fabulous weather. It rains most days, even in the middle of the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we had probably a bit over an hour to wander around Saint-Malo. I walked up along the top of the walls and had lovely views out to the sea. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful old town. It's quite extensive and in beautiful condition. Lots of restaurants if you're going to be there at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And shopping. Lots of light lolly and chocolate shops.
Yes.
All the things for tourists.
Yeah. Well, Saint-Malo is a beautiful place. There's no doubt that it's wonderful. So well worth a visit. But yeah, the weather's not always cooperative.
Yeah, it would be lovely to have seen it on a sunny day. Because I have seen pictures of it in the sunshine, and the water looks so blue. And
yeah.
So after that, she picked us up again, and we went off to Mont-Saint-Michel. And Mont-Saint-Michel has just always been on my bucket list. I was so looking forward to going.
Yep.
So she took us through the back roads, which she said was the way that the pilgrims would have walked to Mont-Saint-Michel.
Very nice.
And we stopped along the way for a bit of a photo opportunity because it was a point where you could actually see Mont-Saint-Michel in the distance.
Yeah.
So that's sort of your first real glimpse of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to Mont-Saint-Michel and you park in the car park because you can't get right up to it. You have to catch a shuttle bus. So at the car park there's a couple of restaurants. So we just had a quick bite to eat there because we didn't know how busy it would be up on the Mont.
Mm-hmm.
So the shuttle bus takes 5 or 10 minutes and they run very frequently. Apparently it's, I'd sort of thought, maybe it would be nice to walk, but apparently it actually takes 40 minutes to walk.
Yeah, and you're going to be walking plenty on the Mont-Saint-Michel itself.
Yeah.
So if you can get a shuttle bus, that would probably be better.
Yeah. So by the time we got there, the weather had deteriorated a bit, but we went up anyway and went into the Abbey, which is very big. It took quite some time to actually find my way through the Abbey and to see everything. And there's some fabulous views out the windows and it was lovely.
Yeah, it's a very nice place.
But just all the little pathways and the houses up on the Mont.
Just making your way up there is very nice.
Oh, it is, and the views out over the salt marsh and the water, just every bit as good as I'd sort of hoped it would be. It was so windy though, so it really did hamper my experience. But it just means I will have to go back there another time.
Yeah, it's weather can make a big difference.
Yes, when we came back down off the Mont and was walking across to the shuttle buses, the wind was blowing everybody sideways.
That bad, huh?
It really was. You couldn't really have your umbrella up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's still an absolutely spectacular place. And well worth the effort of getting there.
Yeah.
There's several ways of getting there. And, of course, most people would do the normal thing and stay in the region for the day, for more than a day. But
right. But
it's doable.
Yeah, it's great to know that it's doable. So how long do you think you spent on the Mont-Saint-Michel proper?
Oh, 3 hours maybe.
Okay, so that's enough.
Yeah, we had plenty of time.
Yeah. So they didn't even rush you.
No, because we had a really full day. So and we had an early start, so it gave you a good amount of time on the Mont. Yeah, because really important.
The last trip report that I published where we mentioned about the Mont-Saint-Michel, Laetitia actually felt rushed.
Yes.
She wasn't able to go up to the Abbey and all that, so that it's good that you had more time. That's great too.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you wish you had eaten your lunch at the Mont-Saint-Michel instead of the restaurants that you mentioned previously?
Oh, look, if I'd sort of known that it wasn't going to be crowded or anything like that, it would have been nice to sit down in a proper restaurant and eat. But, look, I was happy with just a sandwich that I had, and that was fine.
Yeah.
If you have the whole day, it would be nice to have the whole experience.
Right, but it's true that if you sit down at a restaurant, it'll be at least a full hour.
Yes.
Minimum. That's the fastest they're going to serve you in France, so...
Well, that's what the tour guide said. She said, if you want to make the best use of your time, it's probably not to sit in a restaurant for an hour.
Yeah.
But,
I agree.
To their own.
Yeah, I agree.
So, so after a few hours on the Mont, we made our way back on the shuttle bus back to the car park and back to our tour guide. Mm-hmm. And she then drove us to Dinan, which is just like something out of off a postcard. It's a beautiful town with probably two sections to it. There's the old town with all its half-timbered houses and cobblestone streets. Mm-hmm. Just very, very quaint and looks like it stopped in time. And, of course, there's not too... By the time we got there, it was getting on for 5 or 6 p.m, so certainly not too many tourists around. Mm-hmm. But still things that were open.
And Dinan is not a super touristy... It's not the first place people would think of to go in that area anyway.
But just very beautiful.
It's very nice, yeah.
It is. And so once you walk around the town, you sort of walk just outside of the town a little bit, and there's views looking down to the river, which apparently there's more to the down near the river, which I didn't get to because we did probably only have a bit over an hour there. So, but, once again, you could easily spend quite a few hours there.
Oh, yeah.
But very, very pretty.
Yeah. I'm looking at some pictures as you talk, and yes, it looks like a lovely, lovely place.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I've been. I've been to that part of France a few times, but I was very young, and so, I don't remember if it's one I saw or not. So... Yeah.
So then she took us back to Rennes to catch the TGV back to Paris.
Oh, okay.
So it was getting on for 10:30 at night when we got back to Paris.
Yeah,
so, long day.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad that I did it and wasn't rushed in any way. So it was something I really felt I wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's clever that she took you back to Rennes instead of Saint-Malo, because that was...
Yes, it was a shorter train trip.
Yeah, so that's good. Right, so you just bought one way Gare de l'Est Saint-Malo and the other way Rennes Gare de l'Est.
That's right, and I bought that before I left. So, and then I just had a separate payment to the tour guide for her services.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that was really daring of you, because I don't know that I would try that. But because you had the tour guide and because you went with, I don't think there's any way you can pull this off just using public transportation, No,
look, I did have a bit of a look into it, and it was a little bit complex. But there are shuttles that run. I can't think of the name of the town. You can catch a train there. It's not far from Rennes or Saint-Malo. And there is now a bus, but look, in the end, it was just easy to have someone to take me.
Yes, I totally agree. Sometimes it's worth, paying a little bit just for the convenience and to have somebody who knows exactly where to take you, and
and she talked as she was driving. She would talk to us, and and we could ask her questions. So it was very helpful.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
very good. All right, let's do one more of these. Let's see. Oh, the one I'm interested in is you went to Chambord, Chenonceau, and Cheverny. So did you do all three in the same day?
Yes, that was another organised bus tour from Paris.
Okay. Do tell us about that a little bit.
Okay, so we probably left Paris on a coach at 7 a.m., I think, and Chambord was the first stop. Probably, Chambord is not far from Blois, so I'm guessing, we were probably on the road for over an hour. Mm-hmm. It's apparently the largest chateau in the Loire Valley, Chambord.
Yeah.
However, it's probably the least furnished chateau.
Yes.
It doesn't have many furnished rooms.
Yes.
But it's very spectacular. It's very imposing as you walk up. It's got a beautiful roof which you can actually walk up and stand on the roof.
Yes, yes.
It has lots of turrets and very decorative turrets,
Yeah. Oh, I have a funny story about this. When my daughter was young, we went I took my niece, who's just a year older, and so the two girls and my husband and I went up to Paris and visited a bunch of things. And on one day we were at Chambord, and it was like, whoa, so big. And the girls were probably 8 or 9 or something. It was like, oh, so beautiful, so nice. And the next day we went to Disneyland Paris, and my niece says, because she had been looking forward to seeing the castle in Disneyland Paris, and she looks at it and she has this disappointing voice, tone in her voice. She goes, "Oh, c'est pas Chambord, hein?" Saying it's nothing like Chambord. It's so small. She was like, "Oh, this castle is worthless." I thought it was the cutest thing. It's true that Chambord is so huge. Chambord is
They do say that Chambord is the inspiration for Sleeping Beauty, I think.
It is. It's just much smaller. It does have the turrets and all of that sort of thing, Yeah, it's that same style, but tiny. Anyway.
Yeah, and of course it's got the beautiful double helix staircase in it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So very nice. Not much outside in terms of gardens, but it's a part of a big park. So, and I think just near the car park there's some shops, like a restaurant or something. Mm-hmm. So you can easily go and spend a day there looking at the castle, the chateau, and just having a picnic.
Yeah.
So.
I probably wouldn't, though, because once you've seen it, like you said, the gardens, the grounds are mostly wood and grass. There's not, it's not, it's well tended to, it's good, but there's nothing much to see unless you enjoy seeing trees.
Yeah, if you just,
So, yeah.
But spectacular views from the rooftop, though.
Yes, very nice. It's a very nice area.
Yes. So then our next stop was Chenonceau, and I've got to say, Chenonceau is one of my favourite chateaux. Mm-hmm. It's by no means the most spectacular or anything, but the situation of it on the river.
Yeah.
And I really love it. And there's a beautiful hall with black and white tiles inside. And the views out of the windows in that hall across the river, it's so picturesque.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And that one has some furnishings in it.
Yes, it does. And it had some beautiful rooms. And the other thing that really impressed me about Chenonceau is in some of the rooms, they have massive floral arrangements which come from their garden. Mm-hmm. There was some really beautiful rooms, and the kitchen downstairs was
it's fun to see.
Yes. So I really liked Chenonceau, and the grounds are lovely. They do have nice gardens, and there's lots of shaded areas, and they have a restaurant there. I actually had lunch in the restaurant. It was like a proper, hot lunch or sandwiches, if you like. Tables and chairs outside. So that was lovely.
Yeah, I enjoyed Chenonceau very much. I thought it was,
I would go back. I will go back there again one day.
And I can't remember, but I think this was one where I thought the audio guide was also very good. There's one of these chateaux where, I can't remember, I'll have to look through my notes again, but there's one of these chateaux where I thought, I love what they did with the audio guide. It had some humor and it was, really interesting. I really dislike these audio guides that are just so dry and like,
I can't remember. You get an audio guide everywhere you go.
Yeah. And I suppose you could just, if I don't like them, I just turn them off, and do something else. But there was one of those, and I think it was Chenonceau, where it was funny and the music was really good. And anyway, that's a detail.
Yeah. We probably had a couple of hours at Chenonceau, and then we headed off to Cheverny. There's a nice little town there. I think it was getting a bit late in the afternoon, but there was a boulangerie there, maybe a restaurant, and then you come to the chateau.
Yeah.
Which has very large kennels full of hunting dogs.
Oh, yes. I have not been to that one.
Yes, I think they have about 100 dogs or something, and there's some English, French breed. And you can see them getting fed at 5 p.m. each day, which is quite a noisy experience.
Yes, a kennel is a noisy experience.
Yes. The chateau, apparently the family still live in the second level there. And wow. I think the gentleman there that was at the front of house was the man that lived there. So it's a bit unusual, I think, that somebody actually lives in one of these chateaux that's open to the public.
But if you have kennels, you have to have a person on site at all times.
Yes. So this was another beautifully decorated chateau, quite large. They had a lot of tapestries. Some of that, I don't know how old some of the decorated rooms were. Some of them were really old and some of them looked like perhaps they'd been refurbished.
Looks like they have some baby clothes, like very old baby clothes with bonnets and things like that.
Yes. And they have beautiful gardens out the back. Overall, it was probably my least favourite. Not that there was something wrong with it, but it was just it was the third one in a day,
Yes. So you just, I think like anything else, if you go see 2, 3, 4 churches in a day, you're going to get real sick of churches. And the same with the chateau. It's surprising, but you can get sick of seeing chateaus.
Yes.
it's
not very often, but yes.
Yeah, right. So
it just didn't have as much to offer perhaps as some of the others. But, absolutely nothing against it.
Yeah.
And it is in a nice little village too. So that was the 3 chateaux in one day, and probably back to Paris it probably only takes an hour with no traffic to get back to Paris, but I reckon you hit the outskirts of Paris and it still takes you another 3/4 of an hour to get back to the tourist office.
Right.
So it was probably 8 or 9 p.m. when we got back.
Yeah, that time of day you will have a lot of traffic.
Yes, so...
So would you say these trips from the tourist office, Rue de Rivoli, would you say they're a good value? Like they, that you feel like you get the money?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't want to do it yourself, if you don't have the confidence to do it yourself, or the means of, the mobility perhaps of getting there, look, they do cost a little bit of money, but I'd absolutely continue to do organised bus trips, because sometimes these places aren't near a train station and And I know myself, I won't be driving in France because being from Australia, we drive on the opposite side of the road, and I wouldn't have the confidence of driving in France.
Yeah.
Look, they're a great alternative to taking yourself somewhere. And sometimes you can squeeze a couple of things in a day, whereas perhaps if you do have to take public transport, you might only be able to do the one in a day.
Right. And just not having to worry about it, just knowing,
that's right.
Back at this point by this time, and then,
Yeah, you just sit back and let someone else drive you.
Exactly. I would enjoy that sometimes, I think. Sounds very good. Okay, let's quickly do the last one. Reims, because we've been talking a long time already, but
okay.
We've talked about doing a day trip to Reims already, but let's see what your impressions were.
That's a great idea for a day trip. Very easy to get to, 45 minutes on the train from Paris. The station is very close to the town. I went because, I wanted to see the Champagne region, but I'd actually read a book on the widow Clicquot.
Oh, yes, Veuve Clicquot, yes.
So I actually wanted to go to see Veuve Clicquot. They have guided tours of their caves.
Yes.
So that's sort of out the other end of town, but we walked from the town up to the cellars, the champagne house there. I had to pre-organise before I left the tour because you must have a booking.
Okay.
It may have cost €20 or something for the tour.
Yeah.
But included in that is a glass of champagne at the end.
Nice.
And the caves are fabulous. I can't believe that they have so many of these cellars underneath Reims. Very fascinating, and you can do tours at a couple of the other champagne houses. I know Mum run tours, and of course, if you go to Épinay, they have other champagne houses there.
Yeah,
and both towns are full of champagne houses. The other thing to see in Reims is the cathedral.
Yes,
where all the kings of France were crowned.
Yes.
As you say, once you've seen a cathedral, they all tend to look a bit the same. But on the other hand, I still walk into a cathedral and I'm always in awe of these buildings. And it's quite a large cathedral, the one in Reims.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I would definitely not miss that one. That is one that you have to go in. It's very, very nice. And it's very spectacular.
We were lucky when we were there. They started playing the organ, so that's
very nice.
That was very special.
Yeah.
And all the decorative stonework around the doorways to the cathedral were very detailed, and I'm sure there's huge stories behind each and every little carving on there. But
I say you can get sick of cathedrals, but I'm the one who spends hours in there because
me too. And like I said, I still walk into every one, and I think that I can't be surprised, but I'm constantly surprised.
Yes. And
each one of them seems to have a point of difference.
Exactly. And so it's what I like to do is just look for bizarre things, things that are out of place or things that are just carvings that are strange. And so it occupies me because the whole time I'm really intently looking at all these things that they could be very, very similar if all you're doing is just, just looking briefly. It looks the same. But if you're looking for a detail, it's fascinating because you notice more and more things.
Yeah, there's no shortage of things to look at, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The stained glass is always beautiful too.
I think what the mistake that people make is that they go too fast. So they just get an overall impression of the cathedral, which is better than nothing. But if you really take the time to stop in front of an area, any area that looks appealing to you, and start wondering about, oh, what about this section? What does that mean? Is that a Bible story I recognize? You know, things like that. You will get a lot more out of it.
Yeah. And I always find that, you know, I've always been walking to get to the cathedral, so it's always nice to have a seat. And, of course, you can actually sit down and look up and look around and, you know, it's a good way to see things when you have a bit of a rest.
Yep. Wow. Well, it sounds like you're a very adventurous traveler. I bet you do fun things in Paris, too.
Yes, I love Paris. I adore Paris. So I just get up in the mornings and I just walk all day in Paris. I do catch the metro every now and again, but it's nothing for me to walk from one side of Paris to the other.
Wow.
And yeah, I discover lots of little things.
That's great.
In Paris that aren't on the tourist map.
That's great. So maybe I'll have to have you back on just to talk about Paris next time.
Oh, I would love to.
But it's great that you go on so many day trips and excursions from Paris. And so when's your next trip to France?
Hopefully maybe next year.
That's great.
I've got lots that I'm yet to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can never get really fully done with Paris.
No. I thought maybe this trip on my own last year, you know, like 3.5 weeks of just me doing what I wanted to do would perhaps get it out of my system, but no.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for sharing with us, because you really have a lot of insights and a lot of inspiration for our travelers. So
thank you for letting me talk about what I love talking about.
That's great. Thank you very much. And like I said, I might just have to have you on. And also you take good notes. So that's great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, Annie. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, Annie. My name is Randy. We visited France this fall. And we went to Normandy where we rented a car. And I found this episode to be really super helpful for that. Your information about how fast you're expected to be traveling in a given circumstance, like through a little town, was very helpful. Information on the roundabouts was very helpful. Your comments on the signs was somewhat helpful, but I found there were plenty of signs. They were just small and they often came really late. So having a good navigator was helpful. We don't use the GPS. We use maps, and I just don't like using them in the car, I guess. So that worked out all right, but you just had to really be on the ball with that. I would really highly recommend anyone traveling to Normandy, especially if they're going to visit D-Day sites, to rent a car. My wife's uncle was at D-Day, and she wanted to visit some very specific sites, and we just couldn't have done that on mass transit. And so it worked really well for that. Another thing, too, is in a place like Normandy, I have not been to the other rural regions of France, but we happened to be there when the cider was really up and going and apple harvest was on, and stopping to visit some farms, that would have been impossible on mass transit, and it was really nice. So a lot of flexibility with a car. Well, thanks for the great podcast and the great work you're doing, and I hope to hear from you soon, I guess, maybe. I'll see you. Bye.
If you enjoy the show, let us know. Many thanks to listeners who donate to the show or use our Amazon and hotel booking links on joinasinfrance.com or on the show notes on your phone. Most people who find the show do it through a recommendation from a friend. If you share the show with a friend, let me know so I can fuss over you and thank you properly. The other way people learn about the show is through mentions on TripAdvisor, travel sites, and blogs. Thank you for dropping our name here and there. It really helps, and I'll be happy to fuss over you also if you let me know. Thank you. Have a great time in France. And when you come back, consider sharing your experiences in France with the other listeners. I really enjoy doing trip reports with you. Au revoir.